Hey, what's up everyone? Ronnie Shalvis here, and lately I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's a beautiful game and a lot of fun to play, and as I had been playing it, I decided I wanted to do a game review on this game. But not like a review of the actual game, a review of the parkour mechanics from the game. And not only that, I also want to recreate some of the parkour movements and stunts from this game and talk about it because a lot of the parkour moves in this game aren't just crazy stunts, they're actually a lot of the basic parkour moves that anyone can learn how to do. So I'm gonna head on over to Georgia Parkour Academy to recreate some stunts and talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So, let's go. Alright, we're here at Georgia Parkour Academy. Now, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is an open world RPG, but unlike other RPG games, it's completely open world vertically as well. So anything you see in the world, any height, any mountain, object, building, if you can see it, you can climb it, you can jump off of it, or you can vault it. That's actually what I love about the Assassin's Creed games, is it just adds this immersion of exploration that most other games don't have, because it adds this level to it. Anything you see, you can explore it. Now, to have that ability to parkour anywhere, it's obviously going to incorporate some of the basics of parkour. So I'm going to go over what some of those movements are, recreating them, and then we're going to start leveling up into some of the bigger movements he does. So one of the main parkour mechanics is actually the ability to climb and ascend vertical obstacles and buildings and mountains. And to do that, he utilizes a couple different techniques. One of them is the basic wall run, where you're running up the wall, planting your feet up on the wall to get as much height as possible. Pretty much does that automatically anytime you approach a wall to run up it. The next technique he'll utilize to continue ascending that obstacle is what's called the dino in rock climbing, and it's also done in parkour. Now, the dino is when you're actually hanging on a wall already, and with your legs and arms together, you're leaping up to grab onto another object higher up on the wall. Now, the jumps he does in this game are absolutely ridiculous. Like, if we were to measure it out, I'm sure he's flying up 20 feet in the air from just a simple hanging position, leaping up and grabbing something much higher. So, I can't jump that high, but I can do the same move, and we're going to talk about where you can do that and how you can learn it. So you may watch Ninja Warrior. This popular warped wall is used in almost every run in the show. It's become an obstacle that's fun for anybody to train because it's easy to practice on and learn how to run up a wall really high. The problem with the warped wall is it's dangerous for beginners because it does make it so easy to get up very high without a lot of effort. If you don't know how to drop properly, that's where it gets dangerous. And warped walls even start curving outwards, so the higher you get, you're actually going to start coming away from the wall and then dropping down lower on the slope where you can mess up your ankles or miss the wall altogether, and it's just much more dangerous. But we're going to use a warped wall for our example today because I feel like it demonstrates very well a similar technique that Eivor uses in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Oftentimes when Eivor is climbing up a house, they'll actually jump outwards and reach the top of the roof because of the overhang. And warped walls are very similar to that. They have that overhang, so you almost have to jump out, which actually makes it easier to get more height when you're doing that because it's allowing you to push downwards and against away from the wall, which gives you better force of friction against the wall. So you can really leap much higher than if you're just pushing straight down, trying to grab something that goes straight up. So the highest warped wall we have here is a 16-foot warped wall run, and I'm going to attempt it. The cool thing with the one here is it has a rope, so you can grab onto that first to practice getting it, and once you feel comfortable, move the rope out of the way and go for it. Now, this is really high, so once again, going this high, I have to be extremely careful that I come down safely in a controlled way if I don't make it up. So I haven't done a warped wall that high in a long time, so I was a little unsure, but I was able to hit it every time, which is always a good thing. Moving on to the dino. I'm going to try and incorporate this with the warped wall because there's different levels next to it, so I can use those different levels to practice doing that leaping motion to grab onto a higher ledge. When doing dynos, the goal is to use the length of your body and grip against the wall wherever you have your feet planted to reach up as tall as possible. It's not always a giant leap. Sometimes it's just using your momentum to use your length to reach up as tall as possible. And then when working into it, I may grab with one arm first, and then when I'm feeling comfortable, I'll go for a no-hand re-grab to make it look cooler. So the no-hand one up that high is a little bit scary, especially because I'm jumping at an angle, so if I missed, then I'm coming down on the warped wall or past the warped wall at a weird angle. But I worked into it and I got it. Now I want to push it just a little bit, do a bigger jump, so I'm going to find another spot where I can do a bigger jump, but not as high up. Alright, this spot is perfect because I can use this ladder to dyno up to the top of this. So I can start from higher and work my way down to see how low I can go to get this dyno. So next up, to be an assassin, you have to be able to run across the rooftops on narrow little ledges, which is what we call precision strides. This is where you're jumping from one small object to another. This requires balance, focus, precision, and overall body control, and not having a fear of heights. Now this is actually one of the movements that anyone can start learning. You can literally start practicing precision jumps and stride jumps just on flat ground using markers on the ground. And as you become confident in your precision ability, you can start progressing to curbs or ledges, and eventually handrails, and then eventually walls. But only over a lot of training and practice, so that you're always in control and confident in the obstacles you're bounding across. Alright, moving on to our final progression of the stride and precision jumps are going to be on these beams in this Ninja Warrior training area. Now this is much higher, so it's going to be much more dangerous, but I've practiced these a lot and I'm very consistent with them. But once again, before doing anything up higher like that, you want to make sure you're 100% confident in your precision ability and that you're completely focused in the moment as you're performing. So what goes up must come down. So too does the law of physics apply to assassins and parkour athletes. We now must get down from where we came from. So there's lots of ways to get down in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but primarily you're just gonna jump, huck your body off of a ledge. And just like in real life, Eivor will actually do a parkour roll out of really high drops. Now the level of drops he's doing and rolling out of have to be 60 to 100 feet high. Like, it's not realistic at all. Wish there's a little bit more challenge, but at the same time it's awesome just feeling like a superhero in a game that can jump off anything. But when he has to do a super high drop, like from a mountain peak or any tall building structure, there's always gonna be haystacks. Now realistically, haystacks of the size in the game would kill you, landing in them from the height he's jumping into them. Now maybe if you had like 20-foot tall pile of hay, it might just save you. But we're gonna just cross that out as unrealistic altogether. But the move itself isn't unrealistic. People actually do 100-foot high falls onto pads, onto boxes, onto airbags, just like Damian Walters did for the Assassin's Creed movie, I believe setting a record for the highest high fall done onto an airbag. Now, we don't have anything that high in here, but I can at least show you the basics of the eagle dive and how to start learning it from lower falls onto a pad. You're gonna wanna make sure you have a really good crash mat. You don't wanna just do this onto a small 8-inch pad, especially a panel mat. You're gonna want a good, at least 2 to 4 foot pad, depending on how high you're going from. And then once you start going higher, you're gonna need stacks of pads and eventually airbags. to go higher than that. Alright, so we got this little ledge set up here with a good solid crash mat for learning the eagle dive. Now, I've actually done the eagle dive myself on much higher things. I believe the highest I've gone is 40 feet. Inside a giant mall in China for a commercial I was doing, I literally dove over a handrail, fell a few stories, and landed on a giant airbag. It was one of the funnest things I'd ever done, but also one of the scariest, and probably up there is one of the most dangerous. But because I had a lot of air awareness and training from doing high falls, I felt ready to do that one. The other scary thing about that high fall is I was actually diving over a handrail, which meant I had to get a run up to it, which meant I couldn't see the airbag until I was actually jumping and diving over the handrail. So I had to make sure that I was perfectly aligned with the airbag as I took a few steps back, and then from there it was just a blind jump. But then once I was in the air, I was able to spot it and slowly control my body to land on my back. But then that's where it gets scary when doing the eagle dive, because if you'll, when playing the game, you'll notice he'll flip over and then he's falling to his back for a good portion of time. He can't see where he's going to land. The important thing is that you don't over-rotate. You want to make sure you land as flat as possible when doing this move, because if you're landing at any angle, there's a chance of severe injury. You also aren't really jumping straight up like you would a front flip. You're kind of setting yourself forward a little bit so that you're diving into the leap. The important thing is that you don't over-rotate it. It's really easy to over-rotate it once you start getting higher. So it's important that you really slow yourself down. And that's why I like to, as I fall forward, kind of spot it and then just kind of slowly flip myself over to land to my back. So that's the basic technique for learning the eagle dive. Now, to get good at it and consistent and to do it higher and higher, it's all about practicing and getting very familiar with your body and air control as you're doing the motion. So before even doing this high, you want to get really comfortable with it, really consistent with it at one level, and only then can you attempt to move it up. Once again, this movement is very dangerous, so only learn this if you have the proper equipment and the proper facility and the proper people with you for you to learn it safely. Now, just for fun, I'm going to level up the eagle dive and do a front flip and a half to my back. It's basically like doing the eagle dive times 2. Next up, we have laches. Now, they do this in the game as a way to swing from one bar to another. So I'm going to do 2 setups for this. I'm going to do one where I'm just doing a lache from one bar to the next and then popping up on the bar with a kip up. And then the next challenge will be to do a lache swing to precision, landing on a precise object, as this is something he also often has to do in the game. Alright, moving on to the vault section of Assassin's Creed gameplay. Just like any game, vaults are pretty common, and the vaults in this game, I'd say, are a little bit under par. I'd say most of the time he doesn't even do a vault, he's usually just stepping on the object and going over, which works if you need to get a boost to jump up onto something, but in real life is just going to slow you down rather than just jumping over it or vaulting it. And there's not a lot of vault variety in this game. I've really only seen the Kong vault and the speed vault. And even then, they only happen randomly. I can't initiate when he does those moves. I wish there was a little bit more variety, at least to the variety of vaults he would do. Kind of like Watch Dogs 2 had a lot of variety in the parkour moves you could do, but just like Assassin's Creed, you don't actually control the tricks he does. They're all automated. So it would be nice if there was a bit more variety in this game with the movements, but otherwise, here are the 2 vaults that I've seen personally myself while playing the game that Eivor does, and that's the speed vault, which is a one-handed fast vault over a low object, and the Kong vault, which is planting with 2 hands and bringing your feet over through your hands or on top of the object. The speed vault and Kong vaults are basic parkour moves that really anyone can learn. I've done tutorials on how you can progress into and learning these movements if you want to start learning parkour yourself. I'll have links in the description to those tutorials. So to give you my final thoughts on the parkour in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So overall, I would say the parkour does a great job of enhancing your role as a Viking assassin RPG character who can explore the world, every nook and cranny, scale crazy things, use stealth and parkour to pull off cool assassinations, but ultimately is lacking in the actual technical control aspects of the parkour in the game. You can move your character in any direction, but you can't really control what movements he's actually doing, and there's not a lot of variety in the parkour movements that Eivor does in the game. I also realized throughout this video I've been portraying Eivor as a he, when I realized in the game you have the option to play as a he or she Eivor, and so I just played as a male Eivor, which is why I'm used to just referring to the character in that way. But otherwise, I had a lot of fun playing the game and then attempting to recreate the stunts in real life. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Let me know in the comments if you play Assassin's Creed Valhalla and what other games you think I should do in the future. Be sure to subscribe for more parkour content on my channel, Ronnie Street Stunts. You can also follow me for my regular training clips on Instagram at Ronnie Street Stunts as well. So once again, thanks for watching everyone, and we'll see you next time.